Welcome to the Food Scene, an instructional web series on how to make some delicious dishes. This is episode 9. We're making mozzarella and carrozza, which are like fancy grilled cheese sandwiches. Let's get started by breaking down the ingredients. You're going to need flour, butter, eggs, mozzarella, fresh mozzarella to be specific, olive oil, salt, pepper, capers, milk, and white sandwich bread. Alright, let's move on. Some other quick notes here. Obviously, always wash your hands, make sure your counters are clean, make sure before you start using any vegetables that you are washing them. I am not showing these things in the video because I feel that would be sort of monotonous. But yes, always do that. Also, for any of you who want suggested amounts for the ingredients, I will leave those amounts in the video description below. Back to the food scene. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is just take the crusts off of our sandwich bread. Not because I don't like them, just because that's what this recipe calls for. And here I am taking off the crusts, just folding 2 slices of bread, just making sure everything's even so I don't get any uneven slices. And here I am still doing this. I'm using white sandwich bread, but I suppose theoretically you could use something healthier if you're more of a whole wheat person, or a rye perhaps. Alright, so now we're moving on to the capers. We're going to chop the capers. I'm going to fast forward here a little bit. These are going into the sandwiches. It's sort of like not a paste exactly, but just like a little bit of a nice acidic bite in the sandwiches to cut some of the richness of the cheese. And now we're going to assemble the sandwiches. We're basically already done. I didn't show myself slicing the mozzarella on camera, but you want to do that as well. You want to slice your mozzarella cheese into sort of thin slices. So here I am with the capers and then 6 of the cheese, since this makes 6 sandwiches. Well, that's a tongue twister. So yeah, you're going to want a 1/6 of the chopped capers and a 1/6 of the cheese. Then we're going to season it with pepper. And the other part of the bread goes on top, and we'll repeat that process 6 times. Now we're moving on to the egg wash. We're going to create the egg wash for our sandwiches, since we're going to be cooking these on a stove. Well, on a pan specifically in the stove. So here's our eggs, and then we add the whole milk, and then some salt, and some pepper as well for the wash, so our sandwiches get a nice flavor. Now we're just going to lightly beat all those ingredients together, so that the eggs and the milk and the salt and pepper all mix together well. Let's just fast forward here a little bit. And that's sort of what you're looking for there. Then we're going to throw some olive oil in the pan over moderate heat, along with some butter. And you're going to want to get it to around this point where the butter sort of stopped foaming and there's a nice little sizzle going on, because we're going to just like lightly saute or fry the sandwiches in this pan. Quick note here, I didn't show this in the video, but you're going to want to kind of get your flour on a plate and your egg wash in something where you can sort of dip the sandwiches in lightly. And you want to set that up kind of near the stove, since we're going to be quickly transferring the sandwiches to the butter oil on the stove. So yeah, just make sure you do that. And now, back to the food scene. Okay, so we got our sandwiches assembled. You're going to lightly dust each one with flour on both sides, and then lightly insert it into the egg wash, both sides. As you can see, I'm doing right here. And then put it right in the pan. And I believe this is what you call pan frying, but don't quote me on that. with the oil and the butter. And here we are. I'm continuing to dust the sandwiches and put them through the wash. We're going to do it in 2 batches, so 3 sandwiches per batch. You might lose a little bit of cheese or capers in some of the sandwiches, but don't worry about it. Like, there's still plenty in there.
Oh shit!
And I think I just lost a little right there, as you heard. This is the most important part of the process because you got to be very mindful of cooking time. Generally, I've found it takes around 1 to 2 minutes per side, but it could be a little more if you don't have your stove on that hot, or it could be a little less if you have it too hot. So you just got to be very careful and monitor them. Make sure they don't burn. So here's the first batch of sandwiches. Like I said, 1 to 2 minutes, but again, it's very dependent on your stove and all that stuff. So here we are again. I'm turning them now. And that's sort of, well, that was almost a disaster, but that's sort of what you're looking for, is that nice little lightly brown color. You don't want it too dark. And, wow, this could be on America's Funniest Home Videos right here, with how badly I'm turning this. Remember that show, everyone, back in the day? Back when we had, home video? Anyway, so here I am. Oh my god, this is embarrassing, guys. I'm sorry. But yeah, turning the sandwiches, that's sort of the color you're looking for. And yeah. Just waiting now for the timestamp. Here it is. So 1 to 2 minutes later. Again, this could vary depending on your stove situation. And in between the batches, you're just going to want to transfer the sandwiches to a platter and put some aluminum foil on them. And I'm not going to show the other batch here, but this is a key step. Getting some more olive oil and butter into the pan so that you're not burning the other sandwiches. Alright, here we are, guys. Finished product. Mozzarella in Carrozza, which I believe translates to mozzarella in a carriage. Really good. Could honestly eat these anytime, breakfast, lunch, dinner. The capers mesh really nicely with the mozzarella cheese. And yeah, just an awesome sandwich that's pretty easy to make. But you get to say fancy Italian sounding things. Thanks, everyone. That was episode 9, Mozzarella in Carrozza. Be on the lookout for more episodes. Like and subscribe if you want. I hope these dishes find you well at any time.